Hi everyone, this is Duncan from Overland Journals. A big shout out to all my supporters on Steemit, those who follow me on YouTube and those who follow me through my website and write to me now and then. Thank you so much for all the support, it's really appreciated. Today I wanted to talk about Australia. My wife and I, we moved to Australia about a little over 4 years ago from Africa. We used to do a heap of bush travel back there. And naturally, after moving here, we wanted to do the same thing, get in the bush, go out there and see what this country has to offer us. And we always love the great outdoors, so it's something we have to do. So that's why we got the 80 series, which some of you might have read in the postings I've been doing, and we carried it out, to our requirements and also the requirements in the Australian outback travel needs or requires. So why I wanted to talk about Australia today was when I speak to a lot of my friends and family and even other overlanders about Australia and who haven't been to Australia, they seem to have difficulty understanding the vastness and remoteness of the areas we travel to, because whenever you talk Australia, what's synonymous with Australia is the dangerous spiders and scorpions and crocodiles. And while that's true, we do have them here, it's not always the case. I mean, it's not as bad as it's over-exaggerated out there. And what's not talked about, and I'm talking from an overlander's perspective, is what's not talked about is the remote areas, the vastness and the distances we have to travel here. So to give you an idea, in land area, Australia is about 7.7 million square kilometers, somewhere there, and we have a population of 24 million people, right? And to give you an idea of how sparsely populated Australia is, if you compare it to the United States is 10 million square kilometers, more or less in land size, but the United States has a population of 325 million people. Now, to take it a step further, if you break it down further, of our total population, almost 63% of our population lives in the major cities which line the coastal belt or the coastal rim around Australia. Now, if you took all these cities and put their land areas together and compare it to the land area of the country, the cities only make up less than 2%. So that gives you a great idea of how sparse the rest of the country is. Now, the remaining 40%, they live in little towns, which are in pretty close proximity to the major cities. So the bigger portion of the country, I would say almost 80% of the country, is outback. Now, there are people living in outback. Australia is famous for their cattle stations, cattle ranching as it's known in some other countries, and we have great big cattle stations, some as big as countries such as England, enormous. And there are little towns out in the outback which pretty much service the cattle stations. They work as a hub for the cattle stations. And years ago they used to, the purposes of those towns were for other reasons, like servicing the telegraph tracks and travelers and so on. So a lot of these outback towns these days survive purely on servicing the cattle stations and tourists or overlanding tourists like us. And just to give you an idea, some of these towns, like I've been to, some of them population as little as 10, 15, and they survive, and it's amazing, it's fantastic. But anyway, coming back to it, it's the distances we travel. So you can imagine how sparsely populated it is and the great distances we've got to travel. And that's a dream for overlanders like us, because the more remote we get, the more happy we are and the bigger the adventure. But that means we have to be completely self-sufficient in every sense of it. Food, water, even spare parts, because some of the road conditions can be really bad. Sometimes, they're not even proper roads. We've got to make our own way through. And mechanical failures is something we have to be prepared for. So a bit of mechanical knowledge, carrying spare parts, and so on. And of course, generally recommended is we travel in at least 2 vehicles. Getting bogged down, having to recover yourself, it's all part of it. So now, again, why do we have to be completely self-sufficient? For how long? Well, it depends on the track you're taking and depending on the journey you're doing. Some places you travel to, you could do it over 10, 15, 20 days if you want to complete a route. For example, if you do the Canning Stock route in Western Australia, you can easily do 20 to 25 days covering that trek. And again, in some places, the most nearest civilization or in remote resemblance of civilization could be 700, 800 or even 1,000 kilometers away. So you're talking fuel, food supplies. Even if you're in an emergency, reaction times are very slow at times because that's the distances away you are from civilization. So it's vast, it's enormous, but there's plenty to see. It's ancient landscape, enormously breathtaking, mountain ranges, desert country. We have some fantastic beaches. You can drive for miles and miles and miles and still be remote. So, and I live in the state of South Australia, in the capital city of Adelaide, and in this state we have a population of 1.6 million, I think it is, or 1.7 thereabouts, and of that about 1.4 million lives in the capital city Adelaide. So again, we are a very sparsely populated outback, and we got plenty to see here. We have the Great Simpson Desert here, or part of it is in our state, and there's along the way there's the small little outback towns that you can visit and meet the locals and get to know the local culture. So great big distances. And when I made a list of all the bucket list places I would love to travel to and the tracks I would like to take, the list of tracks and places to go to in South Australia alone probably will keep me busy for a couple of years. So please follow me on my journey of discovering Australia, my new home, and enjoying what the outback here has in store. So once again, thank you for following me. Thank you for your support. It's highly appreciated. And maybe one day we'll meet somewhere. Maybe you'll come down under and we'll do a trip. So thank you very much, and keep following me, and I'm happy to follow all the other overlanders out there as well. And if you have any questions of what I do and how I do and kind of places I go to, please do ask. I'm more than happy to respond. Thank you.